So how does Prism OneView work? We've talked about it. There's a product component to Prism OneView and a service component to Prism OneView. So let me step you through that. Imagine you're an Avaya customer today, and you have Avaya Aura. We deploy a premise-based agent that sits on a server, and this is a pretty sort of standard server. It's not a high-end server by any means. So you have that agent that is collecting the alarms, collecting the statistics, but and also doing the discovery. So once it's implemented, it starts doing an auto discovery. It understands everything that's happening, how everything's connected in your network, and it basically says, this is the configuration as it stands today. So that goes into OneView. We take those alarms and we push them into our ServiceNow instance. So ServiceNow is our service desk of OneView, and we use this to manage all the incidents and manage all our customers. So the ServiceNow incidents are available to you as a customer in your customer portal. And OneView also gives you all that information that we talked about around configuration, capacity, release, availability. All the tools, all the reports are all available to you through your customer portal. You log in through a browser, and you have access to all this information. So from your perspective, it's a pretty light implementation. It simply requires you to make sure that the right network information is provided and the right ports are open. And again, it's not onerous. And once you implement it, it's pretty quick to get going. A different customer may have a different environment. They may have come from a heritage North Hill world where they have, Avaya Aura today, but they also have a CS1000, and they happen to have a Sonus SBC. And OneView allows us to do the same thing. Again, collect all that information around the alarms, the stats, the discovery, push the alarms through to ServiceNow. The incidents get created in ServiceNow, and you have access to all that information that we talked about earlier, for that environment. Or it could be a Microsoft Lync environment. It could be a Lync environment that's standalone, or it could be a Lync environment in addition to your Avaya Aura environment. And similar thing, right? We're pulling the information. We push it to the OneView cloud. We make it available to you via portal, and we manage the incidents through ServiceNow. And again, the capabilities of OneView, we've talked about our multi-vendor. So we work with a variety of vendors: Cisco, NEC, Unify, Acme Packet for their SBC, Mitel, Data Center, in addition to Avaya, both Avaya Aura, IP Office, CS1000, Microsoft Lync, Microsoft Skype for Business. So we really cover the whole gamut as it relates to the unified communications and contact center infrastructures that you have in your environment. Finally, as part of this, there's a managed service that we offer, which basically can manage all the alarms. We can go in and resolve those issues as they come up. So depending upon your maintenance agreement, your desire to solve the problems either yourself or leverage on us as the experts, you have options of using those managed services or just using the application to give you more control. Even if you have our managed services, you still have access to all the information. And that transparency is important so you understand what's happening, but you know that you've got the backing of Aero Systems Integration to resolve those issues. Let's take a look at some dashboards here that are generated from the tool. Visualization is key for any real-time dashboard. There's a drag and drop, and it's very easy to get the right information, watch the status of the environment. So in this case, we've selected AES to show us processor, memory, and disk utilization. We have visibility not only in the server, but the application and the current server status. So it can you can be assured that you have all that information in your contact center environment. In this case, it's AES. You also have a CMS server health. Again, understanding the processor usage, the processor occupancy, understanding when the backups were done, if there were any issues, if they failed for any reason, understanding that you can see what endpoints are registered in your environment, and what is it relative to the historical average. If it falls off the average, there may be a problem, and you can start looking into that and trying to diagnose and resolve that before somebody starts calling you and saying, hey, there's a problem here. And again, within a contact center environment, having this level of visibility is really important, because now it allows you to be ahead of your contact center staff in terms of making sure that that critical lifeline of the business is always up and running. Let's take a look at the next dashboard. The DS1 alarms. Avaya will flag this as a minor issue, and we know that your business really depends upon having those circuits up and running for all the external communications. OneView has that flexibility to customize the alarms and change the color coding, so you can say, this may be a minor problem for somebody else, but this happens to be a major problem for me. You can customize this on a per alarm and per user basis, which is really helpful. Voice quality management. Again, these are some of the most complex issues that people have in their environment. All the finger pointing that goes on. Hey, that's not my problem, or it looks fine from my end. And your customers, your company, your employees are complaining about choppy calls, or hey, I didn't quite get that. I'm hearing every other word you said. And with the voice quality manager, the module within OneView, we show you the call path, the hops, the MOS scores, so you can pinpoint the failures and you can get to the root cause of what's happening. And you can ultimately even get to addressing the issue before end users even start opening up tickets. And that's the level of proactive nature that OneView can enable you. And we're seeing this with many customers where they're leveraging this to really reduce the inbound tickets into their service desk. And finally, the last one that we want to look at is historical voice quality management under availability. So not only do we give you that real-time view of the voice quality metrics, but also we store this information and give you the ability to analyze this over time to see, hey, is there an issue that occurred that somehow didn't catch my eye? If something like that did happen, how do I go and dig into that, make sure I have the right information, and ultimately resolve that issue so that it doesn't become an issue, say, come Monday morning. So let's talk about a customer success story here. The customer, and unfortunately we're not at liberty to disclose the name, is a large multinational customer. And again, we talked about the rapid deployment earlier. really very minimal commitment from the customer, some basic login information to their UC and CC infrastructure, some dedicated rack space for the server appliance, and lastly, a data connection. Once we had this information, the OneView deployment was completed in hours and not days. And again, this is leveraging the power of the cloud to get you up and running quickly. Within the first 24 hours, we had as-built schematics automatically generated, and this is not a one-time event. These schematics are generated and then they are kept updated so that as changes are made to your system, you have a catalog of all the system changes and the schematics associated with them. And these are really, really helpful to help you understand what's happening in your environment. For instance, I have a screenshot of a vector within your CC Elite environment, and it tells you, the steps that are taken and gives you that visual view of it. It documents all your vectors. It tells you when certain vectors are either not traversed or certain steps are not traversed, or if there are issues with it. And again, at a glance view of what's happening in the environment. And if you've had your call center environment for a while, you know that you have lots and lots of vectors. Lots of them are unused. Lots of them are underutilized or have paths that are not traversed. And optimizing that, again, gives you some of that resource that you can then either leverage for new flows or make sure that the customer experience is optimal. So once we had the system running for 24 hours, we identified all the assets. There were over 8,000 assets in 65 locations across 5 continents, 160 trunk groups, over 8,000 stations, 12 port networks, 75 media gateways, 68 with an LSP, and we have every IP address, MAC address, serial number, software, and firmware version captured and documented. And when you think about this challenge, just what you got within the first day, that's tough. That's tough to get all that information. And as the old saying goes, you can't improve if you can't measure. And the first step is establishing that baseline. And OneView gives you that ability to get that visibility. Number 2 is really identify the pre-existing issues and create a remediation plan. So again, with this customer, after running it for a few days, we discovered incorrect configuration, some faulty hardware, out-of-date software, and some network issues. 212 major alarms. There were some repeating alarms that were caused by improper configuration. Some of the media gateways had incorrect timer settings, which caused deregistration. And you guys know that when media gateways deregister, that causes a cascading set of issues for end users, potentially. And there were 8 media processors that had improper NIC card settings that were causing voice over IP issues. Again, intermittent issues, but because OneView went in and captured all this information and made it available, the customer was able to get in front of them and address those and improve the experience. And there were 7 hardware items that were identified and ultimately resolved. So the customer worked with us to make sure that their firmware and software was up to date. There were some major updates and upgrades that were also required, and a lot of these things were put in as a separate project, and we engaged with the customer to make sure that they were up to date. And so again, with that visibility, you have the ability now to manage and control your environment that you don't always have. You don't know what to fix. If you know what to fix, you can always fix it. And then, the last one is about optimization. And within the first 2 days, because we started capturing every piece of information, we started seeing how the bandwidth was being utilized, the trunk utilization, the license utilization. We started getting a view of all of that. And as you gather this information, you start understanding, hey, am I underutilized? Am I overutilized? And once you figure that out, you figure out whether there's room for optimization. For instance, do I have too many trunks? People's calling patterns change, and as they change, let's say, for instance, you've deployed Session Manager and you're routing most of your calls, on net, but at one point you probably were going out to the PSTN for all calls. Now you have the ability to reduce some of those trunks coming in and drive some tangible savings. Understand that there's contracts associated with those, and those won't be contracts you can terminate or change right away. But now you have the ability to go in and make some of those changes. Maybe you've deployed audio conferencing, and you went from an off-premise to an on-premise audio conferencing solution like Aura Conferencing. And you now have the ability to, again, keep those calls on net where possible, and again, drive additional savings. And it's putting all this together and having that information then helps you ultimately optimize your environment and drive savings. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your time. I'm sure this was just in fact, I know this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more here I would love to share with you. And if you want to learn more, contact your account executive directly. If you don't have one, we're here to help. Call us. Our number's listed on the page here. And also visit on our website. I've provided a short link there that you can copy and paste in your browser, or when you get the presentation, you'll also have access to that link. So with that, I'd like to thank you all very much for your time, and we'll take any questions that you have.